All right, today's mod is handlebar mod for the 2020 Z900RS. Well, actually a couple things. One, change the tires. So I went and put a set of Pilot Road 5s on there, so it should be much better ride than the OEM spec GPR 300s. And so the other mod I've done is handlebar swap. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this bar long term. I may go to an MA009. This is a Rizoma MA006. So the difference between it, not quite as much pullback. Here's the stock bar. You can see how high the rise is. So it dropped a good 3 inches, which might be a little bit too much. We'll see how the comfort is on a longer ride. But I mean, to be honest, that bar is very close to what's over here on a street triple. So, and it's still higher than what you'd see on a ZX6. Can't count the bobber. So it's still not super low, like sport bike low, but I wanted to get a lower, more comfortable bar. So I happen to have that one. Now, the first time I tried to install it, it did not work because the throttle cables were binding. So I had to pull the headlight off and pull the cables off of this, pull it through, and then reroute it down lower to take up that extra slack so that it wasn't bending them at such an extreme angle. And so now I can go full lock to full lock, which I've already done. No binding whatsoever. If I decide to go to the slightly taller MA009, that'll give me an extra 25 millimeters up, an inch wider, a little tiny more pullback, but still nowhere near as high and back and cruiser-ish as that monstrosity. So this bar is very comfortable, but if you want to ride this kind of in the mountains, and I live right at the edge of the mountains, so I'm constantly doing more sport bike riding. So I definitely wanted to go a little bit more sport to get more weight on the front end. Narrower bars makes it easy when you're 6'4" and have really long ape arms. When you're trying to hang off the bike and ride it, a little bit like a sport bike, high, wide, and back bars kind of get in your way when you're tall. So I end up going, I'm just trying to get different angles here, going with that. The gold, doesn't, well, I mean, it's not so bad. I mean, the gold typically doesn't match anything. If I do go for the MA009, which would be an in-between bar between this and the stock bar there, I'll get that in black or silver. But I think it looks pretty good. Got my bar end mirror. Everything seems to work fine. I'm going to go out for a ride later and see how it feels between the bar and the muchly improved tires. But I think that'll do the trick for a little bit more sport riding, while not being clip-ons or anything goofy that I don't think detracts too much. Other than it being gold, if that was in chrome, most people would look at that and wouldn't even catch it. Wouldn't even go, oh, hey, is that the stock bar? But it is a good bit lower. Try and get it from this angle. I think this is going to be good. So we'll give a ride report on another video, but that's what I had to do. So I was able to also mount my and why I'm holding this slice of beer can in my hand. The one problem with the Rizoma bars is, see how the stock bar has these ridges and knurls? Those stips sit up just a tiny bit from the surface here, making that ever so slightly larger in diameter. You wouldn't think it makes much difference, but as much as I tighten these down before, and I've seen other people with Rizoma bars have the same issues, if you put pressure on the bar, it would allow it to rotate. So a buddy of mine, thanks Russ, said go drink a can of beer and then cut a couple 1-inch half slivers of that and lay that down inside and then lay the bar on top of it. And that'll give you the extra couple thousandths of an inch, and that thing is rock solid. I put a lot of weight on it and that thing ain't budging. So you can make the Rizoma bar fit, everything else fit. Like I said, all I had to do was just reroute the throttle cable. And I put a zip tie or something on here just to zip tie it up, but it's not going anywhere. And frankly, it doesn't look bad, and it looks kind of like probably the older bikes did anyway. So there you have it.